Now, that first concept is overstimulation from social media, which leads to a lack of awareness. Think of brain fog as your way of silencing the noise that's around you. You're so overstimulated by Facebook notification, by Instagram. You're probably scrolling on another like app right now instead of listening to me or looking at me on camera, right? That's a problem. When was the last time you actually took a step back and just delete your apps for maybe a day or a couple of hours and just stay present in the moment, right? I remember myself growing up, where not growing up, but earlier in my earlier years of my military career, where I was on social media a lot, every single day, comparing myself, scrolling. And I just didn't really see like an end in sight for why I feel like I'm below average compared to everyone else. So that led to me eventually deleting my apps. In general, I'm not the type of person to base my life on what others think, right? I base my life based on what I experience and what I want to do and the goals that I want to accomplish and what I can do to accomplish those goals. But during that time period, I just want to be better. I just want to grow. And seeing social media kind of put like I'm going to use the word anchor in my head of how far I can't go because I was comparing myself to others, which is why I went on hiatus from social media. It's not hard, right? Some people delete their apps, some people silence them. For me, I just simply silence my apps. I'm not one for deleting apps because I don't see a reason why. And then you gotta log back in and go through the whole process. That's not why I do it, right? But I went on the hiatus for maybe a week or two, and when I got back on, my whole worldview, my mindset, it became more clear. It became better, right? A lot of people, not saying yourself, but a lot of people just scroll through social media, just scroll through Instagram. They listen to podcasts while doing other things, right? Which as you should. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes they need to be present in the moment. Think of how the world is now. How back in the day, before cell phones and social media and the internet became more prominent, people used to sit down at the dinner table and just talk. Now, families enforce this, or they try to, but now kids have their phones, and when they're sitting down at the dinner table, right, they're on their phones instead of talking to their parents about how their day went, how the school year went. Moms and dads, instead of talking to each other, instead of talking to their kids, they scroll through Facebook. They scroll through Instagram instead of maybe going for a walk with the kids and themselves get to know each other, right? Because I read the study, don't quote me on this, but I remember hearing about it, that men and women work at least 7 to 8 hours a day. And the rest of the time when they come home from work, they just sit and watch TV, which means that how much time do you think they use to talk to their significant other, their kids? Their mind is paying more attention to what's going on around them, not within them, not within their inner circle of influence. And you, by having the information, by having awareness of how you can be better, now you can use that information, for you to be more present in the moment. Because having a clear mind provides significant benefits to your life. It allows you to make more progress at work. It allows you to make more gains in the gym if that's what you want to do. It allows you to become a better dude or gal and a better communicator because you pay attention to people's face expressions because you are present in that moment. You're not thinking about the future. And by doing that, that's how you get a more happy lifestyle. Now, here's something that I want you to do. A tactical steps that you can do. Just right now, maybe after this YouTube video or podcast audio, if you listen on my podcast, right? Do like a dopamine detox. Do one day, take one day, don't delete everything, but just don't log into nothing and just spend time being present, right? And then log back in the next day. And then that next week, take 2 days off and just be present for those 2 days. You can check your email. You can, every once in a while, I'm not saying be like a caveman and don't check anything. You can check your email if you need to, or your social media or your thing, but don't be on as much. Spend time being present in a moment. Spend time reading books. And after those 2 days of detox, you can go back to being on social media again. And then next week, go for 3 days. And then as you progress more and more and more, you'll see a better change and more growth in your life. Because if you do it all at once, think of it as somebody who takes steroids, right? This may be a bad analogy. But if you take steroids, you get the fast growth, right? But eventually things fail, right? Eventually you have health issues later on in life. But if you naturally build muscle over time, you'll be good. It may take years for you to build the muscle that you will get faster through steroids. But the more pain, the more work you put in, the more clean your diet is, the more results that you see. Meaning to kind of tie this in with overstimulation and your awareness. The more you pay attention to your social media usage, the more that you can benefit from having a more present lifestyle. The second concept is a scattered mind, meaning you have a scattered identity. Think about it like this. A foggy mind just means that your identity is scattered. You really don't know what to focus on because you don't know who you're trying to become. You keep trying to fix symptoms like your procrastination, like your forgiveness, but you haven't faced the real issue that's wrong with you. Your internal direction. Now, myself as well, I was faced with that problem as well growing up. At least a lot in my life. I think recently within the past 3 years of being here through my current job, that's when I found myself a lot more because when you're going through pain and you living life in a way that sucks, I guess that's how you find a more higher version of yourself and you get to know yourself a little bit more through the pain of suck, of embracing suck, right? And that's when I kind of wanted to learn about myself more, taking personality tests, taking IQ tests, just different things, meeting new people, trying to learn new things, right? And it got to the point where I just started getting busy. But I also got to the point where me getting busy did not equate to me getting anything done, right? Because you can work. You can be a hard worker, right? If your boss asks you to take the trash out every day and you just take it out, but he didn't tell you whether or not whether or not he wants you to clean it out, you can be a hard worker. But if you don't have a way, have a meaning behind why you work, it's gonna eventually suck. It's gonna eventually get to you, right? You're gonna eventually quit. And that's why a lot of people confuse a brain fog with them not knowing themselves. There's always exceptions to the rule, of course, but some things you can do on a tactical level, right, is if you ever heard of journaling. I've journaled a little bit before I joined the military. I felt because I wasn't very social, right? Growing up, I used to, I tell a story a lot now. You may have heard it before, but growing up, I got teased a lot because I used to smile and talk, but my communication patterns was weird. So I got into the habit of reading a lot of books on communication, on how to communicate better. So now the things I do now are structured. I have structured behaviors that I do based on how people communicate with me. Like, I remember growing up, we was playing basketball, right? For this, I think it was for a tournament or fun. I can't remember. And we was all just finished up the game. We are just talking and making jokes. And someone brought out the fact that I can I'm I smile, but my face looks normal. Let me explain. I laugh and joke with the bottom half of my face. You see I'm smiling. But the top half of my face is like serious. And that became something of a deep issue for me. And that's why I kind of went down the whole communication pattern of how to learn to communicate better. And also, I grew up an introvert. I asked my mom a couple of times how was I growing up because I like to be introspective in regard to how my past was because I believe you can't grow unless you know who you were in the past compared to who you are in the future. Because if you don't know who you are in the past, who's to say you can't go back to that person you were, right? But she told me how I was quiet and the only time I really came out was eat food or just to go get help out or something. And I went back in my room to play video games or whatever I did back in the day, right? And that just proved to me that growth happens slowly because I didn't even know that. I didn't even see the progress that was happening to me in real time because I was so stuck in the process of improving, of experiencing, of doing this thing called the military in life that I didn't even realize that I was slowly improving. And the more I got to improve, the more I found out about myself, the more I experienced, the better I got about my worldviews and my perspective and reality. And the more I just became the person I am now, who's talking to you on camera. When I was younger, like a young 15, 16, maybe even 18, 25, 23, I mean, even 3 years ago, I wouldn't even imagine myself talking to the camera like I'm doing now, using the microphone, having a YouTube channel with my minimum amount of followers of subscribers, 382. That is a great achievement nonetheless compared to how I was, right? Growth is linear. As long as you be consistent, as long as you fail, as long as you learn, as long as you find good mentors, as long as you pay attention to the right information and follow the right people, you will grow. But you have to know yourself first to grow. You have to find out who you are to grow, right? I created a challenge called the Clarity to Control Challenge if you're interested, right? For those of you who are wanting to find a better version of yourself, to learn new tactical tricks, for those of you who are feeling directionless in life and you need some way to be better, or you need some things you can do to better your life. Because if you better your life, you never know. It could lead to an increase in job promotion, increase in money, anything, right? You can find it at http://www dot ascyte.org/control, which is Azure /clarity, CLARITY, tech, 2TO, tech, control, CONTROL. But just invest in yourself a little bit more, just finding yourself and seeing who you actually are, that one thing will improve your life dramatically. Now, a little tactical things or tactical advice, action steps you can take that I want to give you is every morning, wake up and ask yourself, what is your mission? And write it down. Doesn't matter how you feel. Just wake up. It should be pretty simple too. Just take your phone notes out. Use your phone to write down what is my mission and then write down your mission for every single day. Because if it's in your brain, it's just a thought. But if you put your thought on paper or in your phone notes, like I said, then that's how you materialize it into the physical world, into the physical space, right? After you do the whole what's my mission, write down 3 things or 3 actions that you can take that will align with that mission every single day. And hopefully it should right? Give your life that direction and purpose that you're looking for. That third one is your poor health means you have blocked energy. What do I mean by that? Right? Your thoughts aren't random. They're chemical. Lack of sleep, lack of working out, lack of movement, lack of sunshine, just going outside full of the walk. They will either sharpen you or dull you. Most people don't realize that their internal problems aren't just biological ones. You can't outthink your body. You can't outthink your mindset when you're lacking in sleep, when you're lacking in movement, when you're lacking in just exercise in general, right? I know for me, numerous times, if you're a drill instructor, then you already know how this is, right? I'm going to use this because this is a example that we all went through, right? So our days start early around 3 a.m. Yeah, I wake up around 3 a.m. to get to work, some earlier, depends how far where you live. And we usually leave work around either 2000, depending on where we are in that training cycle, which is the end of the day, or we leave somewhere between 17 or 1800, right before that moment they call free time, right? And between in between all that time, it's just a bunch of time of you being tired, running around, trying to sleep when you can because you don't sleep much in general, trying to get things done, accomplishing different tasks, yelling, screaming, practicing for different things, and it eventually wears you down, right? That's why most people enjoy the time off that they do have while doing that job, because that's the time for you to recuperate and get your energy back, right? And spend time with your family if you need to, because we're on our feet at least 15 to 18 hours a day, right? And that's a lot. I when I was my first year and a half or a little bit longer there, I ran like almost a marathon a day, maybe even a marathon a day if I look back at my Apple Watch steps. But it was all part of the process of becoming better, all part of the process of the grind of what I wanted to do. But that probably don't apply to a lot of people, right? You may not be able to relate to that. You may not be able to relate to being up a majority of the day. So what can you do to prevent that? It's simple. Take a step back and just analyze your day. When are good times for you to just go outside and walk? Maybe hit some random push-ups on the ground or something. Maybe drink some water. For me, I try to drink at least some water whenever I wake up in the morning to get my brain into the flow of thinking. Because when you wake up, you're usually dehydrated and you need to drink more water, right? I just don't want you to neglect this moment, neglect this information I'm telling you too, because a majority of the American public, I'm not saying you're American. If you are, then I'm talking to you. But if you're not, then you're not. But a majority of the American public are obese. I don't have the exact statistics, right? But just look around at everyone that you know. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your uncle, your best friend, your coworker, anybody. And ask yourself, do they look obese? Do they look healthy? Right? Do I look healthy? Do I look obese? I would hope not. I would hope I look pretty healthy right now. Right? Because I take care of myself. Which you should be doing the same. And you should be trying to tell others to do the same for themselves. Right? But there's a point where you should stop. You can't help people who don't want to be helped. But you can also give them information because there will always be those ones who may not tell you outright that they're thankful for the information that you give them, but they will apply it. There's always those people who never support you, but they secretly listen to your stuff without you knowing. they secretly they they secretly tell themselves that they're thankful for who you are, even though they may not show support, even though they may not say anything to you about it because it may come off as being weird to them or something like that. Right? Just keep doing it. Try to give information to others that they can use to be better, to grow. Somebody's going to tell you thank you eventually. It's an old Bible verse that you may know that everyone pretty much knows. You reap where you sow. So, meaning that the more you sow good information and things that people can use that you learn yourself and break complex things down into simple to understand language to give to others, you will reap that information back to you. Which I want to give you this quote that hopefully will help you out when it comes to your communication style and hopefully just helps you when it comes to talking to others, right? Think intelligently. I know, so freaking barrage of words. I'm gonna just use a different word. Think like a genius, but talk like a third grader. Meaning the information that you learn, take it and think about how others can apply it to their lives, similar to what I'm doing to you now. Break it down into complex information and pass it to others. It can be through simple stories in your social media if you choose to do that. It can be through word of mouth. It can be through text message, you texting your family members and your friends to let them know. And eventually you will reap what you sow. The more you sow, the more information you find and concepts, not for others. Others, they're the goal, yes, but the main goal is for you to develop more so you can in turn bless others with the information that you have. But the more you learn, the more you practice breaking that information down into simple to understand language, the more you can pass it to others for them to understand and grow from, right? Which will in turn build up your internal or people thankfulness for you. Like I said, you might not see the rewards yet, the fruit of your labor yet, but eventually you will. It will eventually come out, right? And here's an easy action step that you can take for this one. Pick one thing: sleep, water, exercise, and just fix one. And as you fix one, you'll find out in order to grow in that one, you have to do something in the others, and the others will eventually follow in that one. So do that. And I'm pretty sure your life will grow and be better.